Thank you very much. Thank you, Occam, for giving us the opportunity at Fondation Hirondelle to participate in this very important and inspiring discussion. I will speak about the challenge of disinformation in the post-COVID world and what can we learn of the COVID crisis in terms of misinformation and disinformation, and how can we tackle this with local initiatives, especially in the most fragile places. Building a fairer and more inclusive digital society is indeed a major challenge all over the world today, an even bigger challenge in the most fragile places, countries and regions faced with major crises such as conflicts or humanitarian crises. At Fondation Hirondelle, we've been supporting and developing local media in this fragile context for 25 or even 26 years now. We believe access to reliable information and to media platforms that allow inclusive dialogue are key contributions to contribute to solve these crises. The COVID crisis has reminded us that access to fact-based information is indeed vital. It has also shown us once more the damages that disinformation can create. Indeed, in the most fragile societies, the mass dissemination of false information can be a serious aggravating influence, triggering fresh violence or impeding the resolution of existing conflicts. Disinformation and misinformation can also hamper the work of international actors involved in peacebuilding, public health, or humanitarian response. Of course, rumor, propaganda have always existed, and they also continue to spread offline. Traditional media, radio, television, the printed press, can also be vectors of disinformation when they are manipulated by their owners or as a result of a lack of professionalism. However, the use of highly sophisticated and addictive digital technology capable of capturing our attention by drawing on deep-seated cognitive biases makes the spread of an impact of disinformation faster, bigger, and more global than ever. In the most fragile countries and regions, such as the sub-Saharan Africa, the internet is still far from reaching every household, as it was also said before by another panelist. However, we have to admit that the access rate to the internet is increasing rapidly, even in these least developed places. And the main users of the internet are often influencers, opinion leaders, politicians, civil society actors, famous people, journalists. The content they will share will therefore often have a wider indirect impact on society, including on people who are not connected to the internet. Since March 2020, we at Fondation Hirondelle have developed a program to respond to misinformation and disinformation generated by the COVID-19 crisis with local media partners and local teams of journalists in 18 countries in Africa and Asia. We have used the lessons from this program to reflect on how local media and local journalists can respond to the current challenges of disinformation and misinformation, particularly in the most fragile places. We summarized our findings in a policy paper that we published last month, entitled "Sticking to the Facts, Building Trust, Our Cure for Disinformation." Sticking to the facts means that an effective answer to disinformation and misinformation should be built on strong journalistic principles. I will just quickly list these strong principles. One, the first one, editorial independence. It is key to ensure a fair treatment of facts. Two, reliability, which comes through factual, reliable news using verified sources. Three, reactivity, which means that journalists must be able to operate in the field to report when and where stories are happening in order to debunk rumors rapidly. Four, proportionality. It is another key journalistic principle to answer disinformation. It means that we should address the real concerns of the population, not impose outside agendas that can fuel conspiracy theories, and also we should avoid giving too much emphasis on false rumors. And finally, 5, clarity. It is critical to acknowledge the distinction between facts and opinion, as well as to avoid blurring the lines between, on one hand, fact-based news, and on the other hand, campaigning and public messaging. But to answer to this information correctly, by touching the audience we need to speak to, it is also key to build trust with them. Building trust comes through relationship of proximity at the local level. 2, inclusivity, giving voice to all components of society, all fields of opinion. 3, sincerity. As a media organization, as a media, as a journalist, do not hide things that are wrong, do not minimize problems, nor give them undue importance. 4, transparency. Always tell the public in a clear and transparent way who you are, where are you talking to, where are you talking from, who you are working for. And 5, listening. In order to build trust with audiences, media organizations need to listen to them, to better know their needs, their priorities, their expectations. That is why partnerships between the media, researchers, experts are much needed to develop new effective tools to analyze the audience's needs, as well as to identify the vectors and subjects of disinformation. To be able to change the paradigm in a way that we can all answer the challenges of disinformation in the post-COVID world, we believe that new partnerships and new coalitions are needed. New coalitions between public and private donors, international organizations, researchers, tech companies, NGOs, and local media and journalists. If we want such ambitious partnerships to happen and to have a real impact, we should stick to clear and strong principles, such as the ones I've just mentioned. We should especially avoid mixing or confusing news production, journalism, on one hand, with messaging and campaigning on the other hand. Such a confusion, which is quite common, I would say, unfortunately, from donors and institutions. Such confusion is not effective in answering this information. It is even counterproductive and dangerous. It can create more trouble in people's minds and aggravate the confusion between what are facts and should be understood as facts and what are opinions and should be seen like opinions only. However, supporting local media in places where usually media don't receive much support, such as in many African countries, and developing new media literacy programs to help societies become more resilient against disinformation. These would be important and effective contributions to help reducing the digital divide between those who have access to quality information and those who are drowned out by disinformation. Like other media development organizations, we've been working on developing such programs in countries faced with multiple challenges, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the Central African Republic. In these fragile places, people know the value of reliable information. We then believe that lessons learned from these programs could help tackle some of today and tomorrow's most pressing challenges for a more reliable and constructive digital world. Thank you very much.